Our poet is back. She's just a little bit less tortured. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Ali, and today I will be breaking down all of the poems that Taylor wrote for the life of a showgirl. So if you are new here, this is part of a series I do on my channel where I basically do a huge deep dive into something, analyze it, break it down, explain references, explore themes, and these poems are something that I haven't seen really anyone talking about on here, so I thought it might be helpful to go through these together, dissect them, and explain their significance, because I think more so than ever, they are really vital to understanding this album. So historically, for most of Taylor's albums, she has written a prologue for us to kind of introduce the album, the main thesis statement of what she was going through in her life at the time and what themes will be explored on that record. Now for Showgirl, Taylor wrote us poems.
A poem? How sweet. What poem would that be?
You guys might remember for the Tortured Poets department, Taylor wrote an in summation poem as the prologue, and I did break that down in this video here if you missed that. But Taylor has done the same thing here for Showgirl, and the reason I wanted to explore this and discuss it with you guys today is because these poems contain a lot of the themes that I think people were really expecting to see on the lyrics of the album, whereas instead they are found here in these words. So if any of you bought a vinyl, personally mine just arrived this week. Side note, I love this picture so much. She looks like the Cowardly Lion if he slayed. The poems can be found here inside the vinyl sleeve booklet. Looks like this. Also, quick show and tell for how beautiful this vinyl is. This is the pink champagne version. But while I'm showing that, I did just want to share a reminder that if you didn't buy any vinyls or CDs or merch or anything for this album, or literally any artist that you enjoy, that is more than okay. I know collecting has kind of become a bit of a culture, and obviously places like TikTok or Twitter only amplify that. I just want to also normalize that it's valid to not buy things. I am not a collector, so I don't often buy albums. I only was lucky enough to get this week because my friend had bought two and I saw how beautiful it was and I thought, why not? I would love to own that. But you know, prior to that, I just do these things because I want them to look pretty for you guys for these videos. So I don't ever want you to feel bad if you see other people having vinyls or you hadn't seen these poems before, because they are just in, you know, the physical media. I just wanted to reiterate that that is completely normal. Also, I should mention, kind of while we're on the subject, if you were wondering like, Ali, where is the album deep dive? Why haven't you posted that yet? Two reasons. One, I keep discovering and uncovering more about this album that I want to include, but also I am of course putting together a giveaway for this album deep dive, and I'm still waiting on a few things. They're very exciting things, but I'll hopefully be filming that next week. And if you aren't subscribed and would like to be here for when I do the deep dive of the life of a showgirl, you can subscribe down below and definitely give this video a like if you would like to see more from me. I am very excited about this one. I think this is an album that is quite misunderstood and I have a lot to say. So anyway, the fun thing about these poems is that they each had little stars on them that when you put the letters together spelled out numbers, and then when you use those numbers, we can put the pieces together in order, creating one long passage of work, which is a very cute nod back to when Taylor would capitalize certain letters in the liner notes, and when you put them together, it kind of spelled out a secret hidden detail about who or what it might have been about.
So if you're reading the lyrics and you're like, why is that A capitalized? It's because it's part of a code. It'll spell out a code about the song, or just, you know, who the song's about, or a name of who the song's about.
Of a certain guy, maybe?
Maybe.
Which was very fun for us little hungry fiend teenagers. And I think this is kind of what Taylor means when she said, Easter eggs are optional. If you just want to enjoy the art, enjoy the music, and go on with your life, that's obviously fine. But if you want a little bit more, if you want to do some digging, do some work, find something extra, this is here for us too. And the fact that there are 5 poems in total does make me wonder if it's a reference to Hamlet, which was like a story told in 5 acts. Because of course you can read each of these poems standalone and just take them for what they are, or you can put all 5 together and see the arc that it plays out with. Now obviously Taylor is no stranger to writing poetry. She won a contest, I'm pretty sure, when she was a child for her poetry, but also she has released them throughout her career, especially in the second half. And I just think they serve as a great diaristic insight into the thesis statement of what she was experiencing while writing that album. So I just want to show everyone this picture one last time. Like, let's just appreciate that. That's insane. And also this while we're at it. I don't think I realized how many fun things are in here. Like, hello? Can you tell I'm very excited to have had this arrive? Okay, well, without further ado, let's get into it. Up first, we have poem 1, Baby, That's Show Business. That was on these vinyl sets. You woke up branded with the lines of pillow creases, thunderbolt tree roots across your cheek. In turn, last night's mascara stains the ivory hotel pillowcase. This already just paints such a vivid and clear picture. Waking up with something imprinted onto your skin indicates you've either been so tired that you fell asleep doing something, or slept so deeply that even an comfortable position wasn't enough to wake you up. Mascara stains because she's performing so hard and getting to the hotel, getting to bed so exhausted that you couldn't even possibly manage to get your makeup all the way off. And I think we've all been there. I think we all sing and also have left makeup on a pillow once in our lives. I'll say if not, you haven't lived properly. You've got to have at least one iconic night out in your life where you are so tired that maybe all of your makeup doesn't get removed. The clean girls are gonna hate that one. Question for the clean girls: if your partner went missing and you were out all night with the police searching for them, can you tell I've just watched Teen Wolf for the first time? When you got back at like 3, 4 in the morning, you are exhausted, you're distraught. Do you do your full skincare routine? Let me know. And also I think just the note of it being a hotel pillowcase adds that kind of element of unfamiliarity and reminding us that it's, you know, a different city every 3 days. For this 2-year period, you are forever in a bed that isn't yours. And I think it takes a certain kind of person to thrive or even survive in the kind of transient life that is life on the road, being on tour. I think I could love it because I do love travel and living a different life every day and spontaneity, but I couldn't do like the performing part. You could not pay me to do live stage performances. But like living on a tour bus, living in a bunk bed, or in this case, like hotels, very nice hotels, I could do that, especially if you have the capacity to spend your days off exploring those different cities. But I guess in this case, that's a luxury Taylor doesn't really have. I really like the imagery of, what was it? Thunderbolted tree roots. It's not even just a single line across your cheek, but rather multiple branches of like a lightning strike, indicating that maybe you were tossing and turning and the result of that is multiple imprints. Not that kind of imprint. You say good morning to them when you walk in and they don't correct you as they spray vodka on the armpits of the dancers' costumes. I just love that so much because it tells us, you know, she's woken up clearly. It is no longer morning. It is afternoon by the time you've eventually been able to form some consciousness and get yourself up out of bed. The team of people she's working alongside here, whether it is hotel staff, her crew, her dancers, her makeup artists, are kind enough to not correct her and say, actually, it's afternoon, because they know this is a team sport, but that is our leader, you know? She's doing the most out of everyone. It's a real politeness to not correct that. Now, the vodka spray is very intriguing. I did some research into this. Apparently it is a great industry secret. Many of you might have already known about this. I didn't. So spraying vodka on the costumes can eliminate odor and keep fabric fresh without causing any damage. So it like works as a natural deodorizer. So if you have garments that are dry clean only and you're doing a 2-show day or you're traveling and can't necessarily get these to a dry cleaner, perfect solution. We learn the tricks along the way. The flesh-toned bandage wrap covered by skin-colored fishnets, because you will cover up the wound no matter how deep it is. No one ever knew. And baby, that's show business for you. Obviously, I am in fact learning the tricks along the way. I think that's something that is so fun about performing, whether it's like theater or cheerleading or dance, probably getting to share and learn tips and tricks from other people. And it's kind of like a collaborative, not team sport, but there's always something new that you can learn from someone else or you can teach someone else, especially if they are like new to that world. Like I always just love learning little hacks like that. There were probably so many nights that Taylor had cuts and bruises and marks on her body from fatigue and injury that we just had no idea about, because as we know, she probably had makeup covering it and flesh-toned bandage wrap and then her 2 layers of tights just to cover it all up. And her dancers too, for that matter. There is a huge amount of stoicism, I would say, in performers, just willing themselves to push forward and go out on stage. And I mean, that's where we get the phrase, the show must go on. Those lines also made me think about how Taylor has to carry wound care items or like medical grade gauze and things like that, because the stalking, the intruders, the massive security risks that face her are very real. There's been a lot of incidents that have thankfully been shut down, but you know, in light of recent events where a podcaster was shot at a university, I'm sure everyone heard about that, I very much understand the need for those precautions. And I think it's also why we haven't seen as much of Taylor out and about since then. I think there's been a real need for like higher security and more privacy, which completely makes sense. But yeah, back to injuries. The fact that it took Taylor losing an actual chunk out of her hand for us to even realize that she'd had something go wrong, because it just couldn't be hidden as well, is truly crazy. And this is also something I wonder if we'll learn more about in the docuseries, which if you missed, I did a whole video on that with my bingo sheet of like predictions and things that I think we'll get to learn about. But I would love to hear from you guys of what you are either expecting or hoping to see more of. Okay, next up we have poem 2, which is Sweat and Vanilla Perfume. This came with the original glitter version. Coffee, stretch, piano keys. Vocal warm-ups in a locker room shower. Eyelash glue, a photo of him on the mirror, sweat and vanilla perfume. The cracking of joints and the distant beat of a drum. the curtain call, the monotonous thrill of it all. Again, just such visceral descriptors. You can see and smell and imagine those things she's describing. Like you can smell those coffee beans from the caffeine you so desperately need when you've had nowhere near enough sleep but need to be alert to start your whole new routine and do that intense day all over again. You know, you can feel the ache of your body stretching after a huge physical workout the night before. And I kind of love that those are 3 different elements warming up different parts of you. We've got the coffee for your brain, the stretching for your body, and then the piano keys, which strengthens the relationship between the two. It's working on that muscle memory. And I personally have always loved seeing videos of performers doing their vocal warm-ups in like stadium or hotel showers just because of how beautiful the acoustics are in there. Eyelash glue we obviously saw in the docuseries trailer. Again, I can't wait to find out more about the product she used, hopefully. Photo of him on the mirror. We also got a little Easter egg nod to this in the Fate of Ophelia music video. And if I'm not mistaken, the picture of Travis on the mirror there is a screenshot of him in the F Marry Kill interview that he gave like 10 years ago. Now, I don't think that would be the photo Taylor had on her mirror on tour, but maybe it was. Also, if you are interested, I made a video hunting for all of the Easter eggs in the Fate of Ophelia music video, including that one and kind of explaining what they mean. And that is over on Patreon if you would like to see it. So just wanted to give a quick shout out and huge thank you to all of the people that have gone and signed up over there. Genuinely, with how much stricter this website is being, it's been really nice to have the freedom to be able to post literally whatever I want over there. So thank you. I'm having so much fun. Just started watching Teen Wolf for the first time. It's on Patreon. No pressure to join, but I'm just personally loving it. So thank you. The line Sweat and Vanilla Perfume, just a perfect depiction of like feminine and shiny and beautiful and put together like perfume, but also raw and gritty and exerting physical effort like the sweat. And personally, my current perfume is also vanilla. So at the Eras tour, I very much smelled like sweat and vanilla perfume. Plan it out so it doesn't look planned. 10 different backup plans. If your red bottom heel breaks, you will keep strutting, balancing on the balls of your blistered feet. Know your exits, shoulders back, eyes up. To me, this passage speaks to not only the professionalism of a performer, but also the safety precautions. When she says backup plans, that can obviously refer to something in the show like a surprise song or choreography, but I also think it could mean an escape route. Know your exits obviously made me think of when the little riser on the stage wasn't working and she had to run to the back, Swift AF boy. But sadly, I think in the light of things like Vienna and other incidents, there's also a real need for Taylor to constantly know where are the multiple exits she could take if something were to go wrong. And I also don't think she meant it this way, but I think we can apply it to life too. Like know your exits being like, know when it's time to go. And obviously I also really love the reference to the red bottomed heel breaking because this is something that did happen to Taylor in Brazil in 2023. So Taylor's Louboutin heel did in fact break, and like the true professional she is, she broke the heel off and tossed it to a fan in the crowd. This was caught by a Swiftie named Felipe Conrado, but this story moved me so much that I could not talk about it with you guys today. So Felipe had been a huge fan for 13 years when this happened. So already it was amazing that he got to experience this once in a lifetime, 1 in a million piece of history. Now, around this same time, just before he attended the Eras tour, Felipe's cousin had been diagnosed with cancer and had started undergoing treatment. Now, I'm going to talk about this and try not to cry, but I apologize if I do. So anyone that has been in this situation knows that cancer treatment is unfortunately very expensive. Even in Australia, I'm very, very fortunate to live here, but things like chemotherapy can be really almost inaccessible with how expensive it can be. So in the face of this, Felipe realized and decided he could sell this part of Taylor's shoe and give the proceeds to his cousin for her treatment. That alone obviously makes me really emotional just to think about like the sacrifice, the selflessness, the love for family, the things that we will do for others. But the part where this story gets really beautiful is the fact that when people heard about this, naturally there were some quite negative people that jumped to the worst conclusions and said it, you know, he was selling it for nefarious reasons. But when Swifties found out about this, they started a movement called #KeepTheHeel, where fans donated to his cousin's GoFundMe for her treatment so that she could get the help she needed, and Felipe could also keep this beautiful piece of history that Taylor had given him in what was clearly a hard time. And this is not at all the first or only time this has happened. I frequently see this happening online where a Swiftie or a fan or a family member has to sell something that has great value, and instead of us buying it, we will say absolutely not, you keep that and we will donate you the money anyway. anyway. And I forever feel so proud to be a part of a community that performs acts of love like that, especially for strangers. So eventually this Keep the Heal movement reached Christian Louboutin himself, who sent Felipe a handwritten letter saying how moved he was by the story and that he would love to pay for Felipe's cousin's cancer treatment. Yeah, I'm fine. But stories like that just make me so emotional because it is human beings being what we are at our core, which I think is human and kind and compassionate and looking out for one another as if we were, you know, neighbors, as if we were family, even when it is a complete stranger that we have never met and likely will never meet, embracing one another with the same amount of love that you would someone you did know. A lot of the world has obviously felt so cruel and I don't want to say godless because that's not really something I believe fully in, but there's just been a lot of darkness in the world, obviously, and it's little moments like this between human people and between individuals or a group that gives me so much hope and faith and like belief in our world. Anytime things feel really dark, it's so important to be reminded of the love and kindness that still exists and how the more that we do things like this, the more it is amplified. It's like if you smile, someone else is going to smile. If you do something good, someone else will be inspired to do something good. When someone reaches out to another person and says, I would like to take something that is mine from my life and just give it to you for your life, that is, I think, the best part of humankind. When my dad was sick, a family friend made a GoFundMe for a similar purpose, you know, to pay for treatment, because as lucky as I am to live in Australia where healthcare is a lot more affordable than other places, unfortunately, cancer treatment is still wildly expensive, especially if you have to go down that path for years, especially if you have to do experimental treatments. It's just not an easy thing. And a bunch of you guys donated to that GoFundMe. And that's something that I can never like thank you enough for. It's not something I can ever repay the gratitude that I feel, because when someone you love gets sick, there is nothing you wouldn't do to help them. There is nothing you wouldn't give up. There is nothing you wouldn't sacrifice. And when the thing in the way between them maybe getting better or not is money, that's really hard. So the fact that like I didn't really come into this expecting to cry today, I'm sorry. I have always been grateful and will always be grateful for the fact that I have somewhat of a platform or community or whatever we want to call it to share ideas with, to discuss things with and experience music and pop culture and life together. Like that will always be special to me regardless of anything else. But yeah, the fact that because there was this huge number of people that I have made a connection with in some way that was able to help my family, I can just never say thank you enough. So I just wanted to mention why that part of the poem touched me so much, because I relate to it completely. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for anyone who was there during that part of my life. I know it was a lot smaller number than the amount of you that are here now, but it is something that I personally will never forget. And even if you have joined me since then, the love that I feel from this community is such a beautiful gift as well. So thank you. I'm so sorry that I'm a mess today. I just thought that was one of the most important parts of the poem and also a huge sign of like what a group of people together can accomplish. So I just wanted to mention that. And also if any of you watching this here are also over on my Patreon, you guys are a reason that I'm able to donate to huge causes that I care about. I will link in my pinned comment the one that I've been donating to the most in recent years, but I will just always be so moved and touched by what humans can do when we come together. So thank you. And let's get on to the rest of this story. Also, I should mention that the response to all of this, that since completing treatment in September, Felipe says his cousin is doing well and is forever thankful. And that's just so beautiful. And he said, in this Cinderella-like metaphor, having her heal brings such a huge emotion. Who knows, maybe one day I'll get the chance to meet her and thank her for the surprise that changed my family's life. I think Taylor would definitely love to hear about this whole story. She so often donates to fans' GoFundMes, and I know she would be proud to see this community writing for one of our own. Hit your marks, your winks, sparks, tell them a story like it's an intimate dinner party. The looks on their wondrous faces, their expressions like mood rings. Isn't it it also majestic? Of course it is. It's a lot of other things too. My favorite part of that is probably tell them a story like it's an intimate dinner party, because I don't know if you guys will remember, but I did a video reacting to people's opinions about the Eras tour, and one of the opinions people had was that it was like inauthentic because she was saying the same thing every night. And obviously this is not how tours or live events are meant to be consumed, where like we should not have any awareness of what has happened at previous events besides if they were on like a news headline. Whereas the fact that we were watching the show on grainy live streams every night in our bedrooms online kind of gave a false idea of what the tour should be, of like, there were 149 shows. She's not going to come up with a brand new speech for every single night, and obviously she shouldn't have to. That's not really how it's supposed to work. But I kind of love this like glimpse behind the curtain of being like, I'll tell them this story that I have written and rehearsed, and I will make it seem natural because I want them to feel special and like I am confessing something just live in the moment. And I also love the comparison to their expressions like mood rings, because mood rings, I don't think I'm wearing mine right now, but this mood ring I bought in Tybee Island this summer. And obviously mood rings are things that change based on, well, based on like thermal temperature, but let's just say mood. So I think Taylor's kind of making a point of, you know, I'm gonna make them cry with me during champagne problems or tolerate it, but I'm gonna get them up and happy and dancing for Shake It Off. And it's kind of just a reflection of how we're going on that emotional journey with her, but she is like the dictator of that emotion. I'm gonna keep my mood ring on now. Love that. What an interesting way to end that poem. Isn't it also majestic? Of course it is. It's a lot of other things too. And I think that's a theme that we've discussed many a time on this channel, kind of like the double-sided coin or double-edged sword. I don't know what metaphor I'm looking for here, but the theme of fame, and how yes, it's a wonderful experience in some ways, but also there are so many downsides. I personally really enjoy hearing those kind of songs like Clara Bow, Nothing New. I guess we could say I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. Reflections on fame and the downsides.
As your career goes like this, the magnifying glass goes like that. How am I ever gonna have a private life if I'm constantly narrating it? But then again, writing songs helps me cope with the fact that fame is weird. And it helps me stay normal by verbalizing the fact that even though fame is weird, I still feel things the same way I always have, which makes you feel more normal.
Can you do anything like a normal person? Can you go out for a coffee? Can you go shopping? Or is everything an event with tons of paparazzi following you?
Anything outside my house or my apartment doesn't ever really feel normal. I try so hard to make it normal.
I really don't think I've delved this far into my insecurities in this detail before. You know, I struggle a lot with the idea that, you know, my life has become unmanageably sized, and that I, you know, not to sound too dark, but like I just struggle with the idea of like not feeling like a person.
And I think maybe that's something people were hoping to see more of on this album. But I also know that there would be a quite critical response to anything that sounded like complaint coming from someone that was doing their dream job and earning a lot of money doing it. Personally, I like to see that unglamorous, more raw side of something that was built up to be so beautiful. But we will learn more about that in the following poems. Next up, we have poem 3, The Crowd Is Your King, which was the Summertime Spritz Pink Shimmer. Oh, that's the one that I have. It's this girly. Remember this city, you've been here before in another life, on another tour. Remember her? She's got a mortgage now. Straight teeth where there'd been metal brackets, standing with her 8-year-old daughter. You mouth, I know you, in the millisecond gap in your choreography. To you, she will always look the same age as the first time you saw her. She will always be 14 and a half. Remember, this is one of the sweetest parts, I think, of the whole album to me. Taylor is locking eyes with a fan and recognizing her in that moment in the crowd, which I'm sure is something that happened many times, maybe multiple times per night. You know, because many of us were Taylor's age when she first came onto the scene and we became fans. Naturally, we are going through those life stages growing up with her.
Okay, but you like completely changed my life. Like, I was having the worst year ever, and like you just like sucked me out of it. And I started this golfing pool.
Which means those who are Taylor's age or a little bit older are old enough to have kids, and for those kids to even come to the shows. And I think I must have mentioned something somewhat to do with this in a recent video, because I was then tagged by a bunch of you in this TikTok.
So I think Taylor Swift might have written a poem inspired by Eloise and me, and I am losing my mind. Woke up to tons of DMs and text messages and pictures of this poem. Remember the city, you've been here before, in another life and on another tour. Remember her? She's got a mortgage now, straight teeth where there'd been metal brackets, standing with her 8-year-old daughter. You mouth, I know you. I'm having a lot of thoughts. I am thinking about the time that Taylor commented on my Instagram story about all the milestones we've been through. And I'm thinking about when she came on my Instagram live and said, every time I see you, I know you. And then I'm thinking about how when I put Eloise to bed last night, my 8-year-old daughter, that she was wearing the 22 hat Taylor gave her when she said, the last time I saw you, you were a little baby. Do I think that this poem is just about Eloise and me? Absolutely not. I do not think it is just about us. I do think it is inspired by the fans, the OG Swifties, like me, who have been around all along, who've been to all the tours, who have grown up with Taylor, who are now raising their children to Taylor. And what a beautiful tribute this is to the OGs and to the fandom. And I really, I'm at a loss of words about this right now.
That just feels so special, and I'm sure there are more than one people that can relate to that. So shout out if that is also any of you. Lock right back into the footwork. Any missed step is a misstep. You must remember everything, but mostly this. The crowd is your king who has ruled over you for centuries, benevolently for the most part. How interesting. I think that's also one of my favorite phrases from the album. The crowd is your king who has ruled over you. So she's positioning the fans as the most like powerful entity in her life that almost not dictate her decisions, but it's what she works for. It's what she strives for to make those people happy. And I think maybe less so now that she's found a soulmate that makes her feel so happy and content. But I do think for most of Taylor's career until now, she's really made that position quite clear. You know, she's always expressed gratitude for this and centered fans in her journey and in her life. It's the reason that she is one of the only celebrities that literally hand-picked and hand-delivered Christmas presents for fans and invited them into her houses to hear the album and hear stories about it. Like, this is an unparalleled fan artist relationship. But then we have benevolently for the most part. So benevolently means to do something with kind and positive intentions. So then this to me can have kind of two meanings. We can look at moments in time like when the world for the most part turned their back on Taylor as a result of a lie that was spread. And the world, because they fell for a lie, they fell for propaganda or media marketing, whatever you want to call it, essentially called for her cancellation or worse. And then Rep Tour rolled around, or even the Eras Tour rolled around, and those same journalists, those same fans then attended those tours because it was a live phenomenon not to be missed. But it also feels like a nod to kind of the themes we see on But Daddy I Love Him. Sarah's and Hannah's in their Sunday best, clutching their pearls, sighing, what a mess. And what's the other line? Stay away from her, the saboteurs protested too much. It could very well be an acknowledgement of the fact that some fans or people have overstepped boundaries more than once. There was obviously the Speak Up Now movement, the Taylor Swift fan union, or even people blaming Taylor for tragedies like what happened to the fan Anna, or the terrorist threats in Vienna and what Taylor's actions were in response to that. To go into a situation kind of assuming the worst in someone, for example, assuming that they don't care and that's why they haven't spoken about something, rather than because they are legally advised to for the benefit of, say, a family that's involved, or because it is unsafe for the benefit of others. Like, I think to make assumptions that someone is uncaring rather than use like context clues and critical thinking about who we know them to be and what scenarios there might be to explain the situation is to not view them with kind and positive intentions. And that very well leads into poem 4, which is Shiny Bug variant, which is these additions. She says, perhaps someday they will despise you again. Perhaps it is not a matter of if, but when. I think the way I read that just sounded really Dr. Seuss. They'll reassess your merits and then take a magnifying glass to the shiny bug, deflate all the heroes they had decided she was, and maybe they'll do it just because. Following the final parts of that previous poem leading into this is very interesting. I really like the acknowledgement of like, it's not an if they will turn on you, but a when, because Taylor's been in this industry for so long now. She's seen this happen a million times, and not even just to her, but to other people, and primarily, let's be honest, women. This is a huge part of the life of a showgirl that Taylor has come to know all too well. You know, the industry, our culture today is not very kind. The higher you climb, the further you have to fall. For example, if we look at the album The Life of a Showgirl as an example of this, if any other artist had released this album with these lyrics and this production, Firstly, half of the world wouldn't have tuned in. The people that don't like her would not have cared to listen, but they especially would not have gone into it hunting for things to poke holes in or look for flaws and find them where they're not there. There wouldn't be as many people twisting it with nefarious meanings from their own projections, because Taylor is a huge global megastar, a billionaire, very successful, the most famous person in the world right now. So she has absolutely everything to lose. And I think that makes you an easier target, or at least a bigger one. And I'm not saying that people are above criticism. We should obviously have critical thinking about everything we consume, but I just think the nature of where she's positioned in society currently is the reason that we saw a lot of the discourse around this album that wouldn't exist were it put out by anyone else. But you live by a strict code. Never believe your own mythology. Never type your name into the search bar. Let the wolves howl all they want. The moon should never howl back. You know if you play, it's a losing game, so you keep yourself too busy to even learn what's their name's name. And these are the reasons you are still somewhat sane. Oh, I love that. I think never believe your own mythology is so important, and it's twofold. Never believe the hype that you hear. Like, if people are inflating your ego and you have yes men, don't let that influence your decisions too much, but also don't listen to the haters either.
Don't let the haters stop you from doing your thing.
You know who you are. The people who love you know who you are, and everything else is just noise. I remember Selena Gomez used to say in interviews that if she could be known for anything, she wished it could be her heart. And I think that's kind of a thing that all humans should strive for, and how we should judge one another. At the end of the day, our heart is really the most important thing. Now, I also love the growth that we can see here. So from "but I howl like a wolf at the moon" to "the moon should never howl back."
A greater woman stays cool, but I howl like a wolf at the moon.
Taylor has gone from feeling like this desperate creature crying out in the night for something or someone to save or guide or help her, unable to control her own fate, to being the biggest, brightest part of the entire night sky that lights up everything for everyone else, and kind of just acknowledging, or I guess deciding, that she cannot and will not be provoked. Ultimately, she is protecting her peace, and may we all do the same. Obviously, we're told as kids, if someone's bullying you, don't acknowledge it. That's what they want. They're looking to get a rise. And I think that also kind of exists on an adult level and also on like a fame level. People will always look for a way to take something out of context or critique and poke holes in a defense that you might have. So ultimately, it's better just to not say anything.
I don't engage, like if I'm being followed by a camera crew and all these paparazzi, they know that I don't want to have the conversation.
Everybody's like, oh, what are you doing today? Let's dissect it and talk about it, come up with different ways that it could be awful, what you're doing right now.
Like she said, if you play, it's a losing game. Live your life, live your truth. The truth will always come out in the wash. Your enemies will defeat themselves before you get the chance to swing. Protect your peace. Then we have poem 5, Tiny Bubbles in Champagne, and that is these variants. This one, it's just stinking cute, what can I say? He ran to his car from work to catch the flight. Missed the first act, but somehow it's better this way. It's just right. Because you get to watch him make his way through the masses, parting the crowd like some neon Moses in a sequin seed. He is a magnet and a trampoline. The tiny bubbles in champagne. What's most beautiful about this poem is that we know the exact moment she's referring to. In Dublin, Travis arrived partway through the show, and we see the exact second that Taylor clocks him in the crowd. Watching her eyes light up while she's singing August, a song about a love slipping away from you, and seeing her entire mood change is just so beautiful. I also just love when you can hear someone's smile through their voice, whether they are talking or singing, and you can hear it change. It's so good. To witness Taylor going from holding back tears from the first few nights and having to take Invisible String off the set list, and then the raw emotion during, I guess we'd say, the Tortured Poets era of her life, to this absolute joy is very special. She is now celebrated by someone who shows up for her emotionally but also physically in every single way that matters to her. Life is ultimately all about the little inconveniences and sacrifices that we make to be there for someone. Like him or not, Travis is living proof of that, and Taylor does the same for him. And you'll simply never catch me making an edit on TikTok to her being in a relationship with her ex, because she's truly happy and that's all that matters. What a beautiful way to describe someone. Here's a magnet and a trampoline. A magnet being someone that draws you in, that is warm and electric. Well, I guess also we could say a magnet can also repel, but I think we're referring to the side of the magnet that pulls together. From everything we've seen about Travis, that fits the brief for him perfectly. But also a trampoline. A trampoline is something that lifts you up, that boosts you, that supports you, that is like a springboard. And also it's a reference that we get on the album on Eldest Daughter.
You know, the last time I laughed this hard was on the trampoline in somebody's backyard.
So ultimately, as little as we know about him, it seems like Taylor's fiance is just sunshine personified. So I couldn't be happier for her. And especially because of this next passage. Haphazard but precise, he crash landed next to you. Reckless but never with your heart. If he's in, you are too. Okay, that's so. If you're a bird, I'm a bird. You've begun to feel that every song before was just a prayer, a wish list. He is not what you've been waiting for, he is more. Why you held out, why you left, and nothing aches suddenly. He has that effect. God damn. Isn't that such a perfect callback to the in summation poem for Tortured Poets Department where she said, he never scratched the surface of me, none of them did. I'm sure this is a feeling that many of you can relate to, where like you feel like you've been in love before and then you meet that one person that just changes your whole perspective on life and on love. And I think it's very clear to see that this is a very different love for her. So hopefully everyone gets to feel that. If he's in, you are too. That feels so important because I think it was evident, yes, to Taylor's family, but also like a lot of us, that this was, like I said, completely different to any relationship from the past, and that they were like very committed from very early on. Travis had talked a lot in the past about wanting a love like Jason had with Kylie, and how when Kylie walked into a room, like Jason couldn't see anyone else and she lit up the room for him.
It was love at first sight. Fireworks exploded at the door the moment she walked through the door. Buffalo Billiards.
I want to feel those fireworks.
It was like, if you know, like when a movie has like an angel walk through doors and it's like there's only like one light on that person.
That's what happened. I've always wanted that to happen.
It was like I was in a movie for a split second.
And it's very clear that Taylor is that for Travis. And for Taylor to go from writing songs like Tolerate It or Lommel or You're Losing Me to this kind of love is so inspiring and so beautiful. And let's also talk about the line, why you left. So to me, this could really refer to the relationship she was in for 6.5 years that maybe never really felt like the true deep level of commitment that she was looking for. You know, she likened it to a sinking ship that she was willing to go down with. She saw that it wasn't... I'm trying to explain this and I really just wish I could put the entire bridge of You're Losing Me right here. But like ultimately there is a comfort in long-term relationships. This applies to friendships, to romantic love. When you have so many shared memories and experiences and years dedicated to loving someone, it's a lot harder to let that go. And especially if it's a choice that you would willingly have to make yourself. That scene in Saw when the man has to like saw his own leg off. That's how I liken ending a long-term relationship. Like you have to cause yourself pain to be able to escape this situation that is keeping you trapped. Okay, what a metaphor I just made. Especially at her age, and especially after spending your entire 20s being criticized and slut-shamed by the world for dating men and like living a normal, healthy dating life. I can only imagine what a peace it must have felt for Taylor to think, okay, not only am I happy and in love, but also the world will finally leave me alone because I'm in a relationship and I'm done. This is my person. It's all good. Essentially, it was the end of all her endings, or so she thought. So then to have to contemplate starting all over again, to have the courage to leave that. A wise woman once said, you know, the bravest thing I ever did was run. And even more than that, sometimes walking out is the one thing that will find you the right thing. It took the pain of walking out that one door to allow Taylor to open up the new door to this room and life she's in now. It's just such a reminder that we can never find what is meant for us if we don't have the courage to let go of what isn't. One of my favorite lines on this poem, every song before was just a prayer. That is so powerful. Obviously that makes my mind think of the prophecy, you know, where she literally says, a greater woman wouldn't beg, but I looked to the sky and said, please, I've been on my knees. She literally was begging and praying. The very idea of who do I have to speak to change the prophecy, like a desperate plea, a call out to the universe or to gods with a hope to be found or seen. But this honestly goes so much deeper and further back than just the prophecy. So many of Taylor's songs are about wanting to find love. Not just romantic love, but a lot of it has been. I especially think about songs like Fearless or Mine, which are two of the most perfect track ones in the history of music, both about experiences she had not had and wanted to have, like both dreaming about that real deal love. And even beyond that, think about Starlight. Now, I may be the biggest or only Starlight stan in the world, but on that song, Taylor saw a love that spanned so many years, created so much love and life, and very clearly admired that and wanted to emulate it for herself. At least I think. The entire song has nothing to do with the Kennedys' legacy or empire or impact. It's just about Bobby and Ethel's love, their connection with each other and the family and the life that they built. And there is an undercurrent throughout all of these albums, as early as debut. Look at Mary's song. She's always been looking at these beautiful couples, beautiful examples of love that she sees and wanting that, which is maybe the most universal human experience that we all share. And Taylor acknowledging that she's been writing these songs all along, searching for a love like that, when in the end, ultimately, it was those very songs that she wrote, her craft, that brought him into the stadium and thus into her life. What an incredibly full circle moment. Then we have the final prologue, and I'm gonna read it off my vinyl. Tonight, all these lives converge here. The mosaics of laughter and cocktails of tears, where fraternal souls sing identical things. And it's beautiful, it's rapturous, it's frightening. The mosaics of laughter and cocktails of tears really reminded me of Red. I think for me, that's just such a beautiful picture of the Eras tour. Like, fraternal souls sing identical things. It's us joined together in this one moment. We've all come from completely different lives. We've all had a completely different day, and we will be returning to a different reality from one another. But for those 3.5 hours, we're bonded by a love for these songs, you know, the emotional journey we're gonna go on together. And that was something that was so beautiful about the Eras tour, seeing the little moments of connection between fans, whether it was someone you were next to or someone you met during that experience. I'm curious to hear from you guys what you think the it's rapturous, it's frightening like refers to here. What do you think Taylor means by that? What do you think the author is trying to symbolize? It's worth everything it has cost you, and even at your darkest or drunkest, you wouldn't say any different, would you? You would choose all of it again, no matter how the story ends, with the ugliest booze or the loveliest bouquet. They say that love is a choice you make every single day, and that is how you love the life of a showgirl. The fact that it's not how you live the life of a showgirl, but rather how you love it, I think feels very intentional. It's not how you just survive this lifestyle, but rather how you can thrive, like the things that you must do to stay sane and even enjoy it. And like, I think that calls back to what Taylor was saying on, was it The Shiny Bug? About like, you have to set boundaries for yourself in order to live a normal existence and like appreciate your day-to-day life when there's just so much shit going on. Between all of them, I think maybe my favorite is the final prologue, just because it feels so all-encompassing about the Eras tour, and it's something that we can all relate to, that we can all feel. I love that she said, even at your darkest or drunkest. We have so many references to alcohol on her albums. Interestingly, not that many on Showgirl, or at least if it is mentioned, it's in a very different way to say Midnights, Folklore, Evermore, and even Tortured Poets.
Summertime spritz like my whiskey sour.
And that final passage ultimately seems to convey that no matter the outcome, no matter how this whole thing ends, Taylor wouldn't do anything differently. The life that she's led, everything that has led to this point, has put her in the place that she was always meant to be. So for every heartbreak, for every global cancellation, every betrayal, friend lost, it has all led to this exact moment. And that's a perspective I really respect. I personally don't believe that everything happens for a reason. I just think there are too many tragedies in life for that to be on purpose. But I do think we can find reason in everything that happens, or we can assign meaning if we want to. So for every mistake that you've made, for every person you've lost, everything that broke you down a little bit is ultimately what built you up to be the person you are now. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we can't regret any of the things that have happened to us, because without them, we wouldn't have those lessons that make us who we are today. Did I talk enough about the life of a showgirl, or did I make this all about my own personal perspectives? I'm so sorry, but I just really wanted to sit down and go through these words, even for my own sake, just to kind of appreciate them a little bit more. And I really do think they add great insight into this album, or at least shed some light on the topics I think people were expecting to hear more about. You know, the injuries, the behind the scenes moments that kind of link to things we already knew a bit more about. Like, we didn't know so much about the topics she sang about on the album, but we did kind of know about these themes. These were a little bit more Eras tour related, a little bit more showgirly, and I just think they deserved their flowers. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown with me today, and I'm sure there's so many things in these poems that I missed that we should be talking about, so if there is, let me know below. And also shout out to the people that upload pictures of their poem, because obviously I only have one, so without people doing that, we would never know the rest of this story. See, it all comes back to human collaboration and connection. Well, on that note, I am about to go out and see a musical, so I'm very excited. I hope you all had a very safe, happy Halloween if you celebrate it. I will leave my Patreon down below if you would like to see any of that extra content or just support the channel. But again, always no pressure, just having you here is more than enough. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications on if you would like to see my deep dive of this album. But ultimately, I think that is everything I want to say. So I love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye!
Is this what it feels like?